Hello, my name is Kern, and I want to take a look at a couple of different options for laser skips. In A Link to the Past randomizer, it expects you, the logic expects you to have either the Mirror Shield, the Cane of Burna, or the Cape. And if you don't have those items, the logic will not require you to get these 4 chests on Laser Bridge. But of course, this is randomizer, and if we can skip it, we will, especially deep into a late game dungeon like Turtle Rock. We're not going to let a little thing like a magic cape stop us from checking these item locations. So this is one of the most ignored item requirements in the game, I would say, up there with some items that might be required by the Ice Palace Bomb Jump, which are also frequently ignored. So it's very important to know how to skip this section if you don't have the necessary items. And in fact, even when you do have the necessary items, like the Cane of Burna, for example, often it is advantageous to skip using that item anyway. So these skips are very important to know. One common skip that you might see among high-level speedrunners, especially speedrunners who race no major glitches in the vanilla category, is the dash skip. So this necessitates that you have the boots, which this is randomizer, so you won't always have those. But if you do have them, it just looks like this. You just kind of line yourself up, and you dash, and bada bing, bada boom. There's not much thought that's required about this, as long as you're within a certain Y coordinate range. So you need to be low enough that you're not going to fall into the pit like that, or that you're going to bonk. Let's see here. That you're going to run up against the railing. So there you go. So I just bonked against the railing because I was too high. My Y coordinate was too high. But you can't be low enough that you're going to get hit by the laser. So I actually tried to demonstrate it, but I sucked at sucking. So there we go. That's low enough that I got hit by the laser. So we don't want that. So you just have to be in between that window. And as long as you start dashing, as soon as you think you've lined up on the correct Y coordinate, then the timing will work out perfectly with the eyeball and the laser such that you won't get hit. And then to escape, you can see here there's this kind of window here where the eye stops moving, it stops firing until I go low enough again. So we can use that to advantage. In one swift motion, I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to go diagonal left, and then I'm going to go up as soon as I've cleared this railing, just up a couple of pixels. Not so far that I fall in this pit over here, but high enough that I'm outside of the range of the hitbox of this eyeball, or of this laser beam. And one important thing to note about the hitbox of the laser beam is it's only the front of the laser beam that matters. The rest of it doesn't matter. So we're just worried about that. So here we go. Let's try that. So there we go. I only moved up like maybe a pixel, maybe 2. It wasn't very far I had to move to get outside of the hitbox of that. So exiting can also be very easy. And that's a common strat you might see if you have boots. But this is exactly why I was very hesitant to learn the dash skip for lasers. Because it's randomizer, so I'm not always going to have boots. So what do I do if I don't have the logical item requirements and I don't have the boots? How do I skip this not only effectively but quick? So here's an effective way that's not necessarily quick. You'll also see this very often if racers don't have the boots. What they do is they kind of come down here, and they're going to be low enough that they're going to... You can see I just tapped right, but I moved down as well as left. So let's try that again. Okay, so now I'm too high. Let's go down again. So you can see it's aligning me to where I need to be to get past the railing. So they're going to line up like that. And then they're going to wait, and they're just going to kind of time their movement. So typically how they time it is they wait for the front of the laser beam, and then they go after the front has passed. Like that. And then you're fine. So that's a very safe strat. And in fact, when they get to the other side, what they'll do is they'll often go up here, and so the lasers stop moving before they go down to the next one, and they do the same thing. See, I timed that incorrectly, and there's even some leeway there. If you're centered on the platform, then you won't get knocked off to the top or to the bottom. You'll just get knocked back very slightly, and you'll be able to continue on with your iframes to the platform. So there's some leeway in all of these strats, actually, because of that. So that's a common strat you might see, but it's actually quite slow. The fastest that I see people do that wait strat is like they wait a couple of I-beams. They'll go like 1, 2, okay, go, you know. I'm obviously not doing it here. 1, 2, no, go. You know, and that was even quite slower than I saw. But anyway, it's not quite as fast as the dash strat. So you know, we can do better than that. And this is where I came up with a different kind of way to walk past the laser beams, to skip them without the boots in a way that is very, very fast. So I'm hesitant to say that this is my skip, my laser skip, because I'm sure somebody else has come up with this. It just seems so obvious to me. I've just never seen it in a race before. In NMG or randomizer, I've never seen anybody do this. So I came up with it independently for what that's worth. And the idea is very similar to the dash strat. So the dash strat works just based off of some lucky timing here. If you line up and you dash at the right moment, then you're never going to hit by the laser beam. So it just happens that that's the way the timing works out. But if I were to walk, if I were to line up in the exact same place and walk, let's try that again. I'm going to get hit by the laser beam before I can get past the pole. So just walking isn't going to work. So what I do instead is I kind of stutter my movement. I delay my movement just by a couple of frames, and I do that by walking. And you can look at the inputs either to the top left or in the middle right. I have it in a couple of places right now. So I walk to the right, and then I just let go of it and press it again. I just stutter my movement a little bit. And that's gonna correct the timing for me. So yeah, so that's what my skip looks like, and you can even do it seamlessly. And this is the same with the dash strat, but you go like this, and then you go up here, and you just go right away. And you have to be pretty precise on the timing to do it seamlessly on the back end. Like that was a little bit close. I was almost too slow to do it the seamless strat there. You can see I even got hit by a laser beam there, but I'm fine. Okay, that one wasn't fine. But this is my walk strat, and I love this strat because it's consistent. It doesn't matter what items I have in my inventory, I can always do this strat. So of course, I was naturally very curious how this stacks up to the dash strat in terms of speed. So I did a little comparative analysis, and this isn't frame perfect. There's room for optimization in each. I just did the dash strat and the walk strat as best as I could possibly do it in a single run. And I used the frame counter in the practice ROM to figure out what the frame difference was. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so there you go. It's roughly equivalent. If you were looking at the frame counter in the top right, the frame counter changes when you transition rooms, which is why I transition rooms at the beginning and end of the video. The frame counter showed 2036 frames for the dash laser skip and 2033 frames for the walk laser skip. So in fact, my walk laser skip was 3 frames faster. This does not mean, however, that the walk skip is definitively faster. There is small variations. When we're looking at 3-frame difference, there's all sorts of variations that could explain that difference. Like if you're dashing or walking higher on the Y coordinate, then you're going to take longer to wrap around the edge of the pole because your movement is slowed while you're being aligned. Versus if you're lower and it's more precise. Also, if you dash cancel too late, and you're closer to the edge of the wall and you open up the chest over here, then you have more pixel to the left to move in order to make it back to where you need to be, which when we're looking at a 3-frame difference, that's actually very important. And when I was testing this, I did several runs and I got like 2041 and 2042, and they were both roughly equivalent. Like sometimes my dash would beat out my walk and sometimes my walk would beat out my dash. But for our purposes, let's just say that they're roughly equivalent because, I'm not an NMG runner. I don't really care about a 3-frame difference. I'm sure somebody else will, and they'll take a look at which one is definitively faster. But I wanted to know, for my money, is my time spent learning the walk skip going to be valuable to me? If it's that much slower than the dash skip. If I'm going to want to use the dash skip conditionally when I do have the boots, then I have to learn 2 strats. Do I really want to spend the time to do that? So, and I think this shows pretty definitively that yes, indeed, you do want to use the walk. You do want to learn the walk skip. In fact, it's preferable to learn the walk skip simply because it is consistent. So, with the walk skip, you're always going to be able to use it no matter what items you have. No matter if you have the boots or you have these, technically required items or the mirror shield. You're always going to want to use the walk skip because it's comparable. It's just as fast. So why not learn it? And then you're never going to be in a situation where the thing you've practiced is not going to be useful. I feel like I should mention here some differences, some variations in difficulty between the dash skip and the walk skip. So I kind of lied a little bit when I said that you don't have to think with the dash skip, because it is true that once you line up and you start the dash, your thinking is done. for the first part of it. But the more difficult part, in my opinion, is actually canceling the dash. So whether you see there, I cancel the dash a little bit late. But if you cancel it super late, you're gonna bonk, right? And then you're gonna get hit by the laser and you're gonna fall in the pit. So the dash cancel is actually super important. You dash too early, you might get stuck on the edge of the pole like I did there, or you might just wrap around slowly, which isn't that big of a deal because you've still made it. What do we care? So there is a bit of thinking and precision that's involved with the dash strat that you have to worry about, other than just lining up where you start the dash. So the walk strat also has its bit of precision and difficulty, and that's in how long you stutter. So if you stutter too quick, sometimes the laser beam will hit you, and it's going to be hard to demonstrate here. The too quick one. So in general, it's good to stutter quicker than slower. But if you stutter too slow, then especially your return journey, you might get hit by the laser. So if you're trying to do the seamless all-in-one thing, then you might get hit by the laser either right after you grab the chest and you're on your way out, or when you're moving south of the laser after getting back onto the middle platform. So the timing and precision of your stutter is actually really important. One thing that I do when doing this skip is I take a look at when you open up a chest, the game pauses and the laser beam will pause at a specific X coordinate area. And I use that to gauge how fast my stutter was and how well on track I am. And basically what I do is I say the closer the laser is to the middle of the bridge, the worse I've done, the slower I've been. And that's when I might consider a backup strat. Like, I open this chest and if I see the lasers too far to the left, I might just wait for this eye to stop and then do this kind of as a safety and reset the eyeball. Otherwise, if my skip is really slow, I might get hit on my way back, which we don't want. This is a lot more noticeable on the other chests. The first chest, you're lucky in that you're lined up in the exact center of the bridge. So that means your stutter is going to be very consistent, and it's basically as fast as you can stutter, the better. But when you come off of the bridge, you can see here I'm aligned a lot more to the right. This means I have to travel farther to the left in order to get to my final destination, which means that my stutter needs to be faster. Otherwise, I'm going to get hit by that eyeball. Conversely, if I end up farther to the left than I normally would, then if I stutter too quickly, I'm gonna get hit off. Oops, I didn't line up properly there. I'm gonna get hit off by the laser. So let's try to set that up here. So there we go. That was a pretty fast dash. Pretty fast stutter, consistent with this side stutter, but because I was closer to the left side of the bridge, and that was pretty exaggerated, but even small differences like this can make a difference in how fast your stutter should be. So what I do is I don't really rely on the consistency. Like I try to eyeball how into the center of the bridge I am and then correct myself on my stutter, but more so I'm just using the delay of that laser. Oops. I'm just gauging where the laser lands while I'm opening up the chest to determine how fast or slow I was on my stutter and whether or not I need to delay moving across the bridge. Like that was very slow, so I'm going to delay until it stops, and now I can go. And that was a very, very poor placement for that hard hat beetle. So that's another thing to know about this. Just to be 100% complete, I feel like I should discuss the actual logically required ways to do this bridge. So, you have the Cane of Burna and the Cape, and these are always strictly going to be slower than the dash or the walk strat. And of course, that's because you have to item to them and use them. And with the Cane of Burna, there's like this little animation effect, and you stand still during it. It also adds lag to the game. If you don't have half magic, you have to stop the Cane of Burna and restart it again while you're on the bridge, which adds more delay. So it's always going to be slower to use the Cane of Burna. Also, you have to consider your magic. It's not that important because you're about to get a full magic drop before you go to Trinex. You don't need it to beat Trinex, but there are quick strats in the room to the left here which require the Cane of Samaria. So you don't want to completely use your magic for that reason. However, I should mention that if you do have the Cape, or excuse me, if you do have the Mirror Shield, then the walk strat is always going to be faster than the dash strat, as far as I understand it. And this is because with the mirror shield, you don't have to stutter at all. You can just walk straight forward and open the chest. And I wouldn't even call this my walk strat, because this is just walking now. You're not like stuttering or doing anything fancy. The only thing that is unique-ish to me that I don't see many people do is to just go right away like this. But I do see people do that, so that's not like my strat. But anyway, that is good to know, that you shouldn't, even if you're super comfortable with dashing, don't dash. Just use the mirror shield, it's going to be faster. Okay, that is as absolutely comprehensive as I can think to possibly be about this tiny little skip that can cause people so much grief. I hope if this wasn't informative that it was at least entertaining, and I wish you luck in your future randomizer adventures and in your future laser skips.